Hi, everyone. Great to be here today. I'd love to start with a question. And let's see if this kind of room is reflective of the data that I see in other places around the world. So how many people here, either themselves or someone in their family or in their close circle of friends, have a food allergy or a food sensitivity? If you can raise your hand for a quick sec. Okay, this is crazy, right? It's astounding. I grew up in New York and also in Tel Aviv, and I never had a kid in my class with a food allergy. And yet now it feels like it touches all of our lives. I'm almost never on a call or in a meeting or with my neighbors without this coming up. There are even experts that say that this is an epidemic. The data actually shows that this is true. There's been a 50% rise in kids with food allergies in the past few decades. Something like 8% of the people around the world have a food allergy or sensitivity. Peanut allergies are on the rise at about 11% each year. And every 3 minutes, someone's going to the emergency room because of a reaction to food allergy, right? And think about this. The impact goes so way beyond the patients themselves. It's enough to have one kid in your class with a peanut allergy or someone in your family with celiac or at work, and it really influences the entire environment and community, right? And the cost for the healthcare system is astounding. It's assumed it's somewhere around $25 billion. So in Ukko, we're trying to change this reality. And we're doing this by harnessing really edge technologies that allow us to unlock and kind of leverage things that we know about the immune system with things that we know about proteins in order to totally change the way that we solve and approach this problem. We're starting first with allergies to peanut allergies and celiac, gluten sensitivities. But everything that I'll describe today, we can do for any protein-based allergy. So interestingly, this is a massive opportunity. Okay, food allergies estimate around $50 billion market opportunity, and it's divided into different areas. Food allergy, environmental allergy, respiratory allergies, and also venom allergies, things like bee stings or wasp stings. And obviously peanut allergy, as you can see, is really the holy grail. But despite this, there's really no good solution today. So if you have a food allergy or sensitivity, you kind of have only two options. Either avoid the food and walk around with your EpiPen, or there are a few ways to a few treatments that are out there, but they're really suboptimal and not a cure. Happily, there's more innovation taking place now, and you can kind of map it between different buckets. One is prevention. There's an attempt today to expose kids super early to allergens as a way to prevent the onset of allergy to begin with. The second thing, and this is where historically most of the efforts have been, is really to manage your symptoms. So obviously an EpiPen. Second, sometimes things like diagnosing your food so that you know what you're about to eat. The third bucket is actually called immune modulation. And this is where a lot of the innovation is taking place today. So while there are a lot of efforts here, there's really one treatment that's available for people with food allergy today that's FDA approved. And this is something called food allergy immunotherapy. The idea there is to expose you to small microdoses of the allergen itself that slowly grow over time in order to kind of desensitize, lower the threshold of reaction of your immune system. Now, this has been critical, life-saving and life-changing for people with food allergy. However, this effort and also other efforts in the space still face really significant challenges before they can truly cure and solve this issue. And why? Because they face a deadlock. Because in this case, the curative protein, the peanut, is also the toxic compound, the peanut. So every time I want to expose a patient, I'm always at the risk that they may react. And the implication for this is that we have a really significant trade-off between safety and efficacy. Why? Because there's a limit to the type of dose I can now expose the patient. I can't always use the most effective route of administration because at the end of the day, I'm using a toxic compound. So the implication for companies and for efforts in the space is that either we have really long treatments takes today something like 3 to 5 years sometimes to go through the treatment for a food allergy, or I have to circumvent it by cutting up the protein, using only part of it, manipulating it some way. And the implication is always on efficacy. And we see this through the lens of patient experience, because at the end of the day, this means super long treatment. I'm reacting as I'm going through this. So there are dropout rates. I have side effects like stomach aches. And actually, when the FDA approved this, they also said there are limitations. You can't do this around running and not around sleep. So all around poor patient experience, which translates into poor efficacy. So stuck. And this is where Ukko comes in, because we really break the deadlock. And this is where protein design comes in and becomes really, really interesting. Because what we've done is develop a platform that combines AI, immunology, and very advanced protein engineering. And allows us to go to a single protein and design it such that we keep the good parts. And in this case, the good parts are the curative parts of the protein, but get rid of the bad parts. In this case, the bad parts are the parts of the protein that are actually triggering an immune response in patients with these conditions. So what does this mean? It means that at the end, we have the potential to create a therapy that's going to be safer, but still protective against the allergen itself. Now, how do we do this? Our platform basically is made up of 3 steps. The first step is called mapping. And this is where we really take human data and use it to inform our protein design, our protein engineering. In our lab, we've gathered hundreds and hundreds of blood samples from around the world of patients who've been diagnosed with peanut allergy. And we use this to map what is it on the allergen that's actually causing the trigger, the allergy, and how is one patient different from another. And then we use our computational tools to make sense of this data, to analyze and extract from it some conclusions. Then we move to the second step, which is design. And this is where our platform really kicks in, because we use the AI to predict now what are the changes that we want to make at the amino acid level to the protein, such that we can keep kind of the good and get rid of the bad. And we use our very advanced protein engineering. So you can think about it like precision microengineering to the protein to achieve the characteristics that we want, get rid of the allergenicity, and maintain the immunogenicity, the curative part, such that at the end, we get a protein that meets our characteristics. Now, in the past, historically, to do this would have required a lot of experimental effort and a lot of trial and error again and again. And the fact that we combine here AI and protein design, and for those that were in the previous session, we talked a little bit about why protein design is such a new and important field. This is what allows us now to do this so quickly. And the combination here of AI and protein design allows Ukko to do very quick iteration and gives us an unfair advantage. So once we have the protein, we have to know we actually have the protein with the characteristics that we want. So we go back to the samples and test the protein. And obviously, eventually, this protein moves on to clinical trials. So the first assets for Ukko are really focused on drugs. We're developing new therapies for protein-based allergies, starting with peanut allergies. As you can understand from what I said, this approach will allow us to create drugs that really solve all the challenges that the industry is facing. Hopefully, safer drugs that are efficacious. It allows us to use really innovative routes of administration and hopefully completely change patient experience. We're starting with peanut allergy, but our approach will be true for any protein-based allergy. So in our pipeline, we have things around other food allergen, respiratory allergies, and as I said before, venom allergies like bee stings. The fun part is that our platform also is able to produce new proteins for the food world. And we're starting with gluten sensitivities, including celiac. So I don't know, most people, let's start with the fact that most people that have a gluten sensitivity, the only thing they can do is avoid the food, meaning eat gluten-free food. And I don't know which one of you lately went to a cafe and had like amazing, fluffy, perfect gluten-free croissant. But I'm assuming that didn't happen because actually gluten is responsible for all the things we love about baked goods, the fluff, the taste, the smell, the texture. When you get rid of gluten, you're a little bit in trouble. And although gluten-free has gotten much better, usually what you have to do is to compensate with lots of fillers and sugars and taste, modifiers. And people don't know this, but often, not always, gluten-free products, therefore, are not as healthy as the original kind. So what is Ukko doing here in this case? Using the same platform, but in this case, we're designing gluten proteins. And what do we want to do here? We want to keep the good part of the protein. That means the biophysical, biochemical part of the protein that is responsible for the functionality and the taste and the nutritional value, but get rid of the part of the protein that's actually triggering the immune response in patients that have the sensitivity like celiac. So at the end of the day, when we're done with the process, we'll have gluten proteins that will allow us to make and bake incredible, amazing pasta, pizza dough, baked goods. So imagine for a second your favorite bakery, wherever that is in the world. You could walk in there and replicate everything that's there. It will be safe for everyone to eat. And let's see if this will work here. Yeah, so on the left here, hopefully you can see this well enough. You see what it looks like when you bake a nugget with really basic gluten-free flour. White, and I can tell you super not tasty and has no smell or stinky smell. And on the right, this is an initial test that we did. We just added some of our gluten protein to it. We got super fluffy, really tasty, amazing bread smelling nugget. And I can say that we kind of did a little survey in-house where a lot of our team members ate it. You couldn't even tell the difference between that nugget and regular food and regular bread. So we started the question, how does protein design change the way we can think about even the question of what it means when we say something is better for us and healthier for us? And I think you can see that Ukko is an example of the way you use these technologies to change characteristics of molecules, make them into smart molecules. In our case, we're applying it right now to drug and food, but there are many other applications for this, including in the material world. And at the end of the day, hopefully, this will really allow us to design a safer and healthier world for all of us. Thank you very much.